If you had to tackle one of the other BL authors' settings, Ultramarines, Caiaphas Cain, Gotrek and Felix, the way it happened with Sabbat Worlds, which one would it be? I think I'd probably pick something, not necessarily Gotrek and Felix, but something in the Gotrek and Felix family of characters, simply because I don't write enough Warhammer, as much Warhammer as I'd like to, and that would be a lovely, lovely change of pace, a fun thing to do. So that's Gotrek and Felix. Ross O'Brien. The story of Legion goes that you came up with half a dozen cool ideas for the story, anticipating half of them would get rejected, and not only did they all get approved, but you got another one on top of it. What awesome but rejected ideas have you had for other BL novels? I don't think I've had anything rejected per se, because, you know, it's me. No, I don't think I have. I think I've been pretty much on the money in terms of the stuff I've wanted to do. There was a Warhammer story that I wanted to write that by the time I got to it was essentially non-canonical. Some of the early Warhammer stuff I did, particularly Felcargo, I suppose, is considered to be non-canonical now, and there was something along those lines which I had a hankering to do, which there's sort of no point doing now because it doesn't fit into what Warhammer is defined as now. I think I've said this before, but Titanicus, the bad guys in Titanicus weren't going to be Chaos originally. And I had a great story worked out. In fact, there's no point, I don't know, point pretending, they were going to be Necron. It was going to be Necron. They were going to go up against Necron in Titanicus. I just thought it would be a fun thing to do. And I'll spare you the details, but the story turned upon a particular thing happening. And it was one of those occasions, and they happened to the best of us, one of those occasions where I had misunderstood the fluff in a small but crucial way. So the whole thing that the plot revolved around simply would not happen with Necron. The High Lords of Terror painstakingly explained this to my arse, and therefore I switched tacks. And in fact, I think the novel's the novel doesn't have the novelty factor of it being Necrons, but it is probably a better novel, and much more in keeping with the rest of the Sabbat World stuff, because it is Chaos, and we're seeing the Chaos War at a scale we haven't seen before. So it turned out nice again. But yeah, that's the only time I've had something where they said, and they were ever so sorry, they said, we really want you to write this, but you simply can't because it contradicts the fluff. So there you go. How well informed are BL writers kept with regards to background changes and additions and things like new codices? I see Mr. Kime cunningly folds into his books aspects like some of the new Dark Eldar background, and you get a chance to keep informed of these changes. Yes, well, obviously Nick Kime's got a staggering advantage because he's right there in the office, so he can see the codices when they come in and take all the good ones and keep them in his drawer and then send all the shit ones to us. But they're great at sending stuff. I mean, we get stuff as either hot off the press. We get the new editions of stuff. Forge World are wonderful at sending me the gorgeous big books which I pour over and nick ideas from, and often we'll get ideas as soon as we're allowed to have them, to be honest. I mean, sort of we get special papal dispensation if it's a codex that shouldn't be out in the public domain but is pertinent to one of us writing about it. How many hours a day do you dedicate to just writing? Well, let's see. I get up at around between, let's say, 5 and 6 in the morning. I work until about 12:30, where I stop for lunch for about an hour, and then I work through again until about 5:30, 5:45, when I stop for the day. Doesn't matter what it is, at that point that's when I stop. Have tea, sit down, watch telly, relax. Except this evening when I'm recording a weblog. But it's a Saturday night in November, and you know, what the hell. Obviously there are some days in that schedule where I have to go out because I've got to go to the bank, or I've got to go and, I don't know, have the cat hoovered or whatever it is. But generally speaking, those are my working hours. So approximately 11 hours a day, roughly. Saturdays are more relaxed. I often work a lot of Sundays. It's quite nice working in that. I think I like working early in the morning, the same reason I like working on a Sunday, because everybody else, not everybody else, but most of the world isn't. And there's something quite relaxing about doing something, and there's a great sense of having got ahead, getting a good start on the week. Alec says, do you think people aspiring to write for the Black Library should pitch their fanfic efforts? I'm torn between thinking it's a good idea to hone my skills and thinking it's a distraction that could swallow my chances of getting published. I've been thinking about this question because I read it when it first came up, and I really don't know. I think the best... my gut feeling is the more anybody writes, the better they're going to get. So if you're writing fanfic and you're sticking it up on forums, I think that's good. I don't think that can do you any harm at all. There's the counter argument is, don't waste your time writing fanfic. If you're really serious about writing, pour all that effort into writing a story for submission, because once it goes up on a forum, you can't then submit it professionally. I think the practice of writing fanfic is great. If you try and apply to that fanfic, not the usual rules of just having fun writing fanfic, but the rules of producing stories as professionally as you would do if you were submitting them, then you're doing great rehearsals and great audition pieces that you can get fantastic feedback from. There is inevitably going to be a crossover, I suppose, when you put a story up on a forum. If it's good enough, people go, you should have submitted this professionally, and you can't, and you've got that overlap where you might have wasted a story like that. Well, then it's still part of a learning curve. It's still good. I'd say the best thing to do is to keep doing it. Probably a good time to mention, please don't send your stories to me. I would love to, this is not just you, Alec, I'm not picking you, so no, Alec, you can keep your stories. Anybody, it's like the wargaming thing I said earlier on. I would love to wargame all the time and roleplay and roleplay gaming and play Warhammer and stuff, and I would love to read every submission that people send to me. I can't, and the simplest way, because I haven't got the time, I've got a lot of work to do, and the simplest rule is to say no to everybody, otherwise it's not fair. So I can point you in the direction of my sort of, for what they're worth, tips about writing, which have appeared on the blog. There are, on the latest blog earlier this year, if you go and have a look, there are 3 posts titled Dear Ryan 1, and then Dear Ryan 2 and Dear Ryan 3, where I sort of sum up stuff. And I'll answer questions about stuff as best I can, and I can recommend places to look at and things to do, but I won't read stuff. Because, like I said, if I do it for one, I should do it for everyone, and that's just not fair if I pick and choose. Peter Angelides, hello Peter. What is the most unexpected language into which any of your novels has been translated? I don't know. That I've got some. I think I'm in about 13 or 14 languages now, and there have been a couple that. The Black Library would tend to send me a couple of copies of stuff when they come in, and some of the stranger ones are the ones where it's not immediately apparent what language it is to me. Some of them you can tell what it is even if you don't speak the language. Or some of them it's mysterious. And the ones that I really love are certainly some of the sort of Romanian and Russian books where my name is no longer recognisable. Translating the actual spelling of a name I find very strange. I'm not talking about into Cyrillic. I'm just talking about the name being different, and the fact that sometimes it's not immediately apparent what the novel is, because it might be the artwork to an Eisenhorn novel on a gaunt that is called something so completely different so that's quite fun. I believe someone was talking about Japanese editions soon, and that will be lovely. I don't know whether that's just something I dreamt in some epileptic haze, but there you go. Any news? Are you going to do anything for fantasy? I really want to write Warhammer. I really, really do. In fact, out at Games Day Italy, I was talking to Mal and Nick Heim about ideas. In fact, and to the wonderful people from Forge World, I came up with a splendid idea. I just need to find the time to write it now. It was a collective idea. It was a bit, I suppose, a little like everybody mucking in with Sabbat Worlds, but Sabbat Worlds anthology.